Okay, this is 7.8, more work with parabolas. This will probably take more than one page, and you can put it on whatever your next available page is. Hopefully you're doing your notes in order. Okay, so for vocab, we heard Kurt talk about the standard window, and this is in reference to a graphing calculator. So I'm going to start by writing on graphing calculator. Standard window means, so we're going to say in parentheses, standard window means that you set the y max to equal 10, the y min, so minimum number, to equal negative 10, and of course I'm going to run out of room, so the x max is equal to 10, and the x minimum is equal to negative 10. So this is just the standard window that you would set your window to on a graphing calculator so that you could see your graph with those tick marks. You wouldn't want it to be too big. You'd want to zoom. It's almost like setting the zoom to a standard size so that the y ranges from negative 10 to positive 10 and the x ranges from negative 10 to positive 10. Okay, so what does concave up mean? Concave up refers to when a parabola opens upward, okay? So parabola opens upward. Okay, and concave down, just like you would expect, means that the parabola or the U-shaped graph opens downward. On the coordinate plane. Okay, so for exercise 1, Kurt talked a lot about graphing a quadratic function, and the quadratic function he used was y equals negative x squared. And he talked about how this needed to be done and how this is really the same as negative 1 times x squared. And then it was really important to remember order of operations as well. When substituting. But the thing that I want to really hit home here is that when we are asked, so I'm looking here, when we are asked to graph a quadratic function, it's important to remember the importance, I know it sounds silly, but the importance of a table of values. And it's also important to remember which inputs we choose to use. So whenever you see something like x squared, that means that we need to think about the table that we choose to use. So it's still going to be our x and our y columns, but it's really important that we think about that table with a 0 as the middle, and we move away from 0 in equal increments. So you want to go down 1 and you want to go up 1, or maybe you want to go down 2 and then you want to go up 2. This is so important because if we don't do this with our inputs, okay, if we don't do this, we might end up with a graph that looks like this, and we might not understand that we're looking at a parabola, okay? But if we were to do a better job of choosing the correct inputs, then we end up with both sides of the parabola. Now this is actually not the correct parabola. This should be, let me do that again. Okay, we end up with, so if we choose, let's back it up. Okay, so if we don't choose good inputs, okay, if we don't choose good inputs, like moving up one and down one, like we talked about over here, okay, we will end up with a portion of the parabola and we won't know we're looking at a parabola, okay? But if we choose good inputs, I'm going to do this graph in green again, but I'm going to do the parabola itself in red, just to show that it's matching my inputs that I chose. Okay, so because we chose a positive 1 and a negative 1, and a positive 2 and a negative 2, we end up with both sides of the parabola, and we know, we're confident that this is a parabola. If our table is not a well-chosen table, if our table ends up being just one-sided, we would end up seeing only one side of the parabola and we wouldn't know what we're looking at. So choose your inputs wisely. Choose inputs wisely. Okay, so in a nutshell, when we see x squared, we need to really think about choosing inputs wisely, which means go down 2, go up 2, go down 1, go up 1. And I like to always start with 0. Start in the middle of your table and work up and down from there. That way you'll ensure that you get both sides of your parabola when you're trying to create it. Okay? All right. So let's move on to the next page. All right.